Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're taking procurement negotiation. Well, less out of the realm of just persuasion and instinct, and putting it squarely into data preparation and precision. The mission here is really to give you the shortcut to turning all that supplier info into actual measurable leverage.
Yeah, that shift from what feels like an art to more of a science, that's pretty much non-negotiable now for procurement pros. The sources we looked at are crystal clear. Negotiation success, it's decided way before you even walk into the room. So we're really drilling down into how structured playbooks and solid analytics replace what can be pretty dangerous guesswork.
Okay, let's unpack the data you need right at the foundation. For procurement teams trying to figure out their position, what specifics, what metrics really define that potential leverage against a supplier?
Right, good data clarifies both your power and your risk. You've got to move beyond just looking at total spend. It's about the power calculation. A key analysis, supplier dependency. Specifically, you need to define that point where your volume is, say, more than 15% of their divisional revenue. That's often a tipping point for leverage.
15%, okay.
And you also need accurate historical pricing trends, plus reliable supplier performance indicators, think delivery reliability, quality metrics, that kind of thing.
That clarity on dependency and risk, that's what makes those strategic trade-offs actually justifiable. But what about teams with maybe limited data visibility? Isn't basing strategy on something like a supplier's overall revenue exposure a bit risky? How do you avoid relying on, potentially shaky public filings?
That's a really crucial point. It's about grounding the analysis in your specific data. Your numbers have got to translate into clear, measurable tactics based on evidence, right? Not just broad external reports. And that needs cost structure visibility. Knowing which parts of the price, like raw material costs versus labor, can actually move, which bits are elastic.
And thinking beyond just the unit price, quantifying value beyond price. So we're talking total cost of ownership, TCO.
Exactly. You absolutely have to quantify how terms like, say, warranty length or risk coverage or even inventory holding affect that TCO over the life of the contract. Then you bring in scenario modeling. You estimate the ripple effects. For instance, how agreeing to shorter payment terms might impact your ability to get that, say, 3% price cut.
Right. And this scenario modeling, that's where the preparation really sets the boundaries. Every negotiator has to preset those three things: the target position, the acceptable range, and crucially, the walkaway point. But the really vital step here seems to be ensuring that internal alignment.
Oh, it's the ultimate red flag if you ignore alignment. Seriously. Finance, legal, operations, they must agree on those constraints beforehand. Otherwise, you just undermine your credibility instantly if you have to backtrack on something you thought you'd agreed.
Okay, let's shift to structure then. The sources really emphasize this negotiation playbook template. Sounds like the engine for improvement and accountability, right?
It absolutely creates institutional memory. So you're not starting from scratch every time. Key parts need to quantify and track the measurable objective, your target KPI, the concession value, and the decision owner. Tracking concession value, for example, helps you see if you're giving away maybe $2 in better payment terms just to get $1 off the price up front. That's a hidden cost you need to manage.
That kind of rigor links negotiation directly to long-term performance. So, by structuring agreements around supplier outcomes like on-time delivery or defect rates, you shift things towards collaboration, not just that short-term win-lose fight.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that even really analytical teams can stumble. Beyond poor internal alignment, the two biggest failures: chasing price only, which inevitably hits quality or risk, and working with dirty data. That just creates unrealistic savings targets.
Yeah.
And honestly, it ruins trust pretty quickly.
So the deep dive doesn't wrap up when the ink is dry on the contract. What's the final essential step for a data-driven team to make sure that learning actually compounds over time?
Right, post-negotiation analytics, that's the critical learning loop. You have to track the concession ratio, basically what you gave versus what you got, and critically, implementation accuracy. That means confirming, maybe through audits or checking your ERP data, whether those agreed savings and concessions actually materialized in practice down the line.
That really brings it all home. So the core takeaway here is that strong negotiation capability isn't some innate talent. It's a structured, repeatable process. And it compounds over time if teams consistently document their assumptions and then validate the actual outcomes.
Exactly. And, maybe a final thought for you listening. If your team isn't regularly tracking the negotiation ROI, the value you gained, compared to the effort you put into preparing, how can you really know which arguments, which data points, which strategies actually produce the best results? If you don't have that feedback loop, well, you're still relying more on instinct than on strategy, aren't you?